Ikimasho.
Ikimasho.
Everyone, and welcome back to the Adcast, a podcast for the study of modern visual culture. I am your legendary hero, destined to defeat the Demon King, Renu.
And I'm your miscreant of the cloth, Soup.
This episode stands for Absolute Territory because we'll be talking about the whole fall 2023 season.
Woohoo!
But before we get into that, what have we been up to?
Well, that is a good question.
Yeah.
I've been busy doing stuff for, personal stuff.
Yes.
I think you've also been busy doing some con stuff.
And
it sounds like neither of us watched anything aside from the stuff we watched together, which will make this an interesting season to talk about, I think.
Maybe we'll keep it tidy. Who knows?
We'll keep it. I'll tell you what. We'll keep it tidy.
Yeah.
I think, like, looking through this list, I think that Bullbuster may be the only show that we watched that actually ended in fall.
That we watched to completion.
Everything else we watched is literally continuing into the winter season. And like, for once we're actually watching all of the stuff because it's like too good not to watch. But like that also means, well,
Mm-hmm.
there's just not a lot of meat left to talk about in this one, I guess.
Well, we'll talk about what we watched at the very least then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been up to mostly personal stuff, working hard, studying for stuff. How about you? Yeah. Studying to help me parents with their business.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I mean, technically I should have been doing this a year ago, but better late than never. How have you been since we've last spoken on the air?
Yeah. I guess the last time we talked, we were still wrapping up the holidays.
Yeah, that's true. Now it's February.
Don't worry about it.
Oh boy, this podcast, I swear, gets timelier every year.
Yeah.
It comes with age,
Yeah, right, exactly. I like to think we come right on time and on our podcast episodes. Like.
We're never early, we're never late. We're just there when we're meant to be there,
Yeah, I was wrapping up family stuff, and then also I went to MagFest again this year. Very fun this year as well. I highly recommend that for anyone interested in going to a really cool East Coast convention that has a focus on gaming, music, and whatnot. And also, I'm there at the marketplace. Please come see me. Yeah. That's basically it. And then since that has ended, I've been working. I've got a pretty long commission queue and whatnot. So, work. And, Oh, last night I just celebrated getting 500 followers on Twitch, so that was fun.
Wow! Patch.
Tiki.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I just hung out with Chad, and then we I gave away like commission slots for people, like via raffle giveaway kind of thing. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all that I've been up to.
Cool. Well, you know me, I don't exist, so, I'm here to watch anime, and anytime I'm not doing that, yep, that's it. So, do you want to get started? Just get right into it. Just
let's dive in. Yeah, heck yeah. Okay. Let's go.
Well, let's talk about Spy X Family Season 2, or rather, let's not talk about it because I didn't watch it. Let's not talk about it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either.
Yeah, you didn't watch it. I forgot this was coming out. I
did too. I forgot.
I completely forgot.
What happened? How did we both forget?
I mean, I feel like the thing is that Spy X Family was really big when season 1 was going, and obviously it was a very good adaptation, and it was taking the old internet by storm. Everybody getting their children together to do their little Spy X Family cosplays.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting excited over Milfior.
Yes.
Yep.
As they should. Yes.
The internet. But then season 2 came out, and I think just as is the sort of nature of the internet, everyone's just kind of moved on to talking about the stuff that came out that season instead. Which, to be fair, in this case was Frieren, so that's understandable.
Yes.
I too have been waiting for this anime for years, and it delivers.
Yes.
And more.
Does not disappoint. Yes. Very good.
Honestly, I was expecting it to be good, but I was not expecting it to be as good as it is.
Yeah.
It feels like they're flexing.
They have every right to.
It's true. It's good.
Yeah. So, I don't know if Spy Family was like either I missed the advertising or what it was, or maybe I thought that I had already watched it.
Yeah, I just
didn't realize it was season 2.
I just completely blanked on it.
Yeah, so
there was no indication to me that it was coming out. I forgot it existed.
Yeah.
I saw that it was airing. That was it. Now.
I think I probably assumed that I had already watched it because I mistook it for the second half of season 1, right? I was like, oh yeah, I already watched season 2, even though it was only season 1 that I watched.
Yeah, well, it's because season 1 ran for 2 cours.
Yeah, exactly. So I had assumed wrongly
it kind of
in my
feels
mind.
like you already watched a season 2, but in reality,
exactly.
It was the end of season 1.
Exactly.
It's kind of a weird thing to really count them by seasons when some of them go for 26 episodes for a season, some of them go for 13.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they should I wonder if anime that do that, it would behoove them to name themselves by arcs, right?
Well, a lot of them do, and a lot of them also name themselves in ways that are distinctly decoupled from seasons. I think the thing is that the seasonal model is really something that's more Western to Western television that we've just retroactively applied to anime, because anime tends to run seasonally for cours, but doesn't run for seasons in the same way that television runs for seasons, It looks fairly similar on the outside, and then when you kind of look and dig deep into it, it's well, actually, it's not exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the basic building block is just a little bit different.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm sure that the quality of season 2 Spy Family isn't that outlandishly different than season 1.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's still just as good.
I'm sure it's still good.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you enjoyed season 1, you'll enjoy season 2.
Yeah.
They're
Check
still
it out for us.
They're still doing the Spy X Family shenanigans.
Yeah. Tell us how it is.
I feel like if you were interested in watching season 2, I feel like you've already watched season 2, or maybe you're like us and you just didn't know it was coming out.
Right. And you're only
reading
it now.
Indication whatsoever that it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's briefly touch on the first cour of Frieren, which was very good. I have no idea where the first cour actually cuts off because we just kept watching it.
We just kept watching. Yeah, I have no idea either, actually. It might have been after she defeated the demon lady. Something like that.
I think that would make sense to me.
Yeah, definitely before the wizard exam stuff.
Yeah, that stuff is definitively in the second cour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's boy, I don't want to like get too deep into it because like I really want to have like the whole talk about it when the season actually wraps up. But this is like probably one of my favorite manga of all time. So the fact that it's an anime now and the fact that the anime is like really good and really high profile is like, chef's kiss.
Yes, I think anyone in the anime sphere would have already seen tons of fan art of Frieren.
I feel like you can't get away from Frieren right now. Everybody's talking about how good it is because it is really good.
It is good, yeah. I guess for anyone who doesn't know anything about Frieren, hasn't watched it yet, brief summary. It's basically about an adventuring party that defeated the Demon King. One of their party members, named Frieren, is an elf who has a much longer lifespan than the rest of her party members. So they pass on before her, and she, throughout the course of the show, kind of starts to understand the importance of life.
Yeah, exactly.
And what that time meant to her, because she kind of just went through it, and it didn't let much of the meaning of it sink in until basically the end of her party's lifetimes. So now that she basically has a new group that she travels with, she's taking a lot more time to consider those things and to appreciate life more meaningfully. And it's very, very, very good. The way that it's written and paced, it's very like, if you've ever played any kind of tabletop or D&D campaign, or even just like a game campaign with your friends in general, I think you would find something in this story that you enjoy, because it's very good at like showing someone learning the meaning of the bonds of the people that they're with, right?
Yeah.
The friendship, basically. Yeah.
I think that one of the best things about the show is how well they utilize like very seemingly small and insignificant moments from like this journey. I actually think that the entire framing of the story itself is like really clever. The fact that there is an entire sort of story, right? There's an entire backstory that you just like don't see. You just know that it happens, right? And then they sort of backfill or like pull stuff from it later, right? And it kind of fills in the knowledge of like what should be there, right? For us, the viewer, who didn't get to watch the whole journey. And it's really interesting because it's so different than most other, adventuring sort of fantasy shows, which are about like, they're about the initial journey. They're not about what this like secondary journey is, right?
Right. Yeah, I think this series does a great job at striking at the heart of why people want to go on adventures, like whether it's in their own little D&D campaigns or want to go along with the adventures of like people in fictional stories, as the character dynamic and the little moments that kind of make it really special.
Yeah, I feel like that's like kind of the thing that is like the thing that's kind of at the core of Frieren is like how well it like captures the feeling of an adventure, even though like that adventure's over, but there's also this secondary adventure that's happening like in the now moment, right? And the way that they kind of tell the story like chronologically, in the sense that like there's like this one timeline and then you're kind of pulling from moments from this entire journey, right?
Yes, it's really good at recontextualizing those memories that she already went through and the ones that she's making now. Like the comparison and the contrast is like really important to her.
Yeah, it's like, and the thing is like because the story is so explicitly about a story that happens after a story, but you never get to see the initial story. It has this very interesting structure to it where, like, it feels like you're watching the, like, second or third season of a show, or you're watching the, like, epilogue of a show that has already aired and that you just didn't watch. But it also manages to use that and leverage it in a way that makes it so that you're kind of watching, like, two shows at once. You're kind of experiencing this multitude of stories at the same time, which is very interesting to me, and also, like, kind of upsetting, to be honest. It's a little, like, speaking as a writer who has wanted to write, like, a kind of, like, story like this for a long time, just seeing it done, like, this well is just like, how dare you do it so well?
I totally understand, because I, too, am also like, oh, it would be so cool to, to make a story that was kind of on along those lines before even watching or reading Frieren. And then having seen it now.
That was the exact situation I was in. I was like, I want to write a story about party after the adventuring is over.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And then I read Frieren and I'm like, well,
it's
better
already,
give up. It's over.
It's already been
over.
done.
It's all ogre.
And way better than I could have ever imagined.
I can't compete. I can't compete.
I think there's still value in the fact that, like, it would be your own version.
Oh yeah,
of it,
definitely.
Your own interpretation, you know? Yeah.
It's just like, for me, I just need enough, like, distance from it.
Yes.
Like, to be able to sort of, like, not accidentally plagiarize.
Exactly. Yes.
Right?
Yes,
like, you want enough time for
yes.
your brain to, like, digest the concepts so that you can, like, kind of put your own spin on them.
Yeah,
and, like,
for sure.
make the story yours. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Frieren inspired similar stories from here on out. Like, people, now that it's really popular.
There are a couple that I've read, and I think the thing is that it's coinciding with a couple of stories that are in a similar vein, but a lot of them also tend to be isekais. The thing that interests me about Frieren and about Dungeon Meshi that's airing this season is how they're so explicitly, like, non-isekai fantasy. I feel like back in ye old times, before the days of isekai, like, fantasy was one of the sort of staple genres of anime, because the ability to just, like, draw fantastical things, you know, it lends itself to animation very well.
Yes.
But nowadays, all of the fantasy is like isekai stuff.
Right.
So, you know, it's hilariously kind of refreshing that we get, like, kind of straight fantasy again. But at the same time, like, I obviously understand that a lot of stuff that came out in, like, the early 2000s was, like, absolute, like, tick the boxes fantasy schlock that was, like, you know, not actually that interesting, didn't really have anything other than, like, a central concept to work off of, and had nothing really interesting to say about the genre, whereas I feel Dungeon Meshi and Frieren really have a lot to say about the genre that I really want to talk about in the winter season episode, because then I can directly talk about those two in comparison to each other.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's all I'll say for that for now. Just because I just don't want to spoil myself.
We recommend checking it out if any of what we said interests you.
Watch it. I don't care if you like fantasy. Watch it. That's an order. If you're not watching it, you should be watching it.
It's just a really well done story, and then on top of that, it feels like, you know, not your typical fantasy schlock in any way.
It's just very well considered, well crafted fantasy, and it feels very emotionally mature in a way that a lot of fantasy can, like, fall into the trap of not being, you know?
Yes.
Like, a lot of fantasy can fall into the trap of being juvenile, even when it's about, like, you know, mature things that are happening, like people fighting and dying and stuff, right? But, like, even when that is the case, like, tonally it can still be, like, kind of juvenile, right?
Yeah.
It could be, like, edgy teenager stuff, but it's still, like, for people that are not adults. Whereas I think Frieren is, like, very explicitly for adults.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about Kimi Zero, which is oh god, what's the English title of this? Do they not have one? No, they do. Our dating story, The Experienced You and the Inexperienced Me, which is about a boy who gets dared by his friends to ask out a very popular girl, and then she's like, yeah, I guess I'm free right now. Sure, why not? I've read the manga for this, and it's like decently cute. If you kind of want a fairly straightforwardly played like romance story that's like a little wholesome, this isn't the worst one, you know?
Okay.
We watched one episode of it, and it was about what I expected, which was like a fine adaptation of a fine story. Like it's all right, you know. It's fine.
Yeah.
If it's something that falls within the sort of genres that you like, I think you'll enjoy watching it.
Yeah, if you like the high school romance, first love kind of deal.
I have very like mixed feelings about like the premise of it, because like on one hand, I think it's like kind of wholesome that both of the main characters are kind of learning about what it's like to be in a relationship for the first time, but like from different angles, where, you know, one person has never been in any kind of relationship and the other person has been in a lot of relationships, but they've mostly been like, you know, kind of shallow, mostly about like, you know, physicality, right? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like every time I see something like this, it's like it's so close to being like incel bait, right? Where it's just like, oh no, my lady, you don't understand. I wouldn't treat you like that. I wouldn't have sex with you on the first date. I definitely wouldn't. You have to believe me. I'm a good guy, or whatever, right?
Yeah, he's not like the Chads who would.
Yeah, not like the
right.
Giga Chad, you know, Chad Thundercock over here, who's just like, I fuck all the time.
Golly, that dude needs to calm down.
he was blessed by God with his thunder cock, and presumably his accompanying thunder balls.
Wow.
Anyway, I'm always a little bit concerned about like the sort of like incel bait. But I think this one is like not terrible in that respect. Okay. Which is like if that's your one like kind of hesitation, in the same way that it was my one hesitation, I think I could tell you it's relatively safe in that regard.
Yeah, I didn't get strong incel vibes from the guy. Like he was like,
yeah, I never got the vibes that like, you know, the guy was like, oh, I'm judging you for like having sex with men, right? Yeah. It's like that is what your previous relationships were like, but I want that the relationship between us to be something that is different.
Yes.
Which I think is fine. I think that's fine, and I think that's it is, as long as you're not kind of veering into that weird incel territory. It is like both fine and honestly perfectly healthy to have a conversation with your significant other about what kind of relationship you want.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Kusuriya no Hitorigoto, or Apothecary Diaries, which I have also been reading for years and have also been waiting for an anime adaptation for years, and it is a pretty good adaptation. They actually, I don't know if you saw anything about this, but they went back and they, it looks like they reanimated some of the shoddier shots from some of the earlier episodes, which was nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they didn't have to do that until, you know, nobody's asking them to do that until the Blu-ray release, but they did it anyway. Which, sure.
I guess that means they really care, because there weren't too many shots from the early episodes that I was like, ew, you know, no, right. Like, yeah. You know? There wasn't anything entirely offensive.
By the time that we got to them, I think that they were already reanimated. But
oh, really?
Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure what the actual workflow on that looked like, but yeah. So this is a story about a young lady who is an apothecary's daughter, and she loves poison.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. And then she gets kidnapped.
Yes.
Just normal things. And sold to the palace to be a poison taster for one of the princesses or whatever.
Yes.
One of the queens, one of the concubines. You know, it's like it's like it wears the sort of aesthetic of imperial Chinese court drama, and it has kind of a light, I would say, association with it. But for the most part, it is basically a like case by case detective story, which I think is interesting. Set in a sort of unique setting, because it's basically like Sherlock Holmes, except the main character is like I don't know, she's like 16 or something. And it's taking place without any explicit forensic science, asterisk in like Imperial China.
Yeah, she has a methodical way of deducing and observing.
Yeah, so she has a very, I would almost say, like almost an anachronistic sort of logic flow. Like it's very obviously like this is what somebody would deduce using the sort of like deductive logic that you're taught in the modern age. But it's not like an isekai or anything. And honestly, I think it's good. I think that's like the only thing that is potentially there to like take to like potentially sort of, you know, unimmerse yourself, break your immersion, break your suspension of disbelief is the like really sort of very close to forensic stuff of like, oh, she's like fingerprinting. It's like, well, okay, all right.
Yes, she's basically doing the science back in the feudal times.
Right. But yeah, I mean, this is a very entertaining watch.
Yes.
I really love the characters. I love that there is there's just a pretty little Dumbo bimbo whore boy.
I don't know if he's dumb. He's just, you know, he's pretty manipulative.
No, he's like clever, but he's also a little airheaded, you know?
He is like, I mean, it becomes very apparent as the series goes on that he's in love with the main character, but it's just not a good time to voice any of that stuff. He doesn't know how to
express it.
Yes.
Normally he's, you know, used to people fawning over him. So
yes.
He's like, hey, wink. Yes. And she's like, get away from me.
Yeah, she kind of hates him, and it's very, very funny.
It is a really fun dynamic to watch.
Yes. So the character dynamics are fun. The unexpected fact that a lot of times it's a murder mystery or like an ordinary mystery or whatever, like, is fun.
It's not what you would initially expect from a series like this.
No.
But I think it works really well. And I think the fact that they stick so hard to that concept all the way through really helps a lot.
Yeah.
Like, there are connecting threads between the cases. There's like connecting tissue, but for the most part, the way that the story is portrayed and developed is like case by case, a lot like you know, Sherlock Holmes. So yeah, I would recommend watching that. I love this show. We're still watching it. We're talk still about watching more of it enjoying at the next episode.
Yeah, if you decide to watch it, you'll find how easily bingeable it is. You'll just want to fly through the rest of the series.
Well, you watch an episode and it like introduces the mystery, and you're like, oh, I want to know what the answer to the mystery is. So you have to watch the next like 2 episodes, and you're like, whoa!
Yeah. And you're like, oh my god, I love the show. I want to keep going, and you just keep going, and then next thing you know, you're in the next season. You're like, oh.
You're like, oh, I've caught up. I caught up.
Or the next core, I should say.
Where am I?
Where? What day is it?
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
Okay. Undead Unluck, we watched the first episode of, which was a decently good adaptation. The stylistic choices were pretty interesting. I like that they made stylistic choices.
Yeah.
It felt very Studio Shaft at times. very specifically there's a lot of these shots where the characters are like very contrasted against what is a very like drowned out background, like a sort of vague like I would say the vague impression of a city. It's a very kind of specific thing they do, especially in Sayonara Zetsuba Sensei and the Monogatari series. It felt a lot like that, and I think that worked really well for Undead Unluck because I know what the actual like main plot of it is and what the actual like main story of it is. It's a shame that we didn't watch more of this, but when I think about why we didn't watch more of this, it almost 100% comes down to the fact that I think it was on Hulu or something that I really just did not want to watch. I fucking hate Hulu. Like, man, Netflix jail sucks so bad, but I just can't use Hulu.
No, it's on Disney Plus.
Is it on Disney? Oh, I remember now. It's on Disney Plus, but we couldn't get to it. So, like, we looked into it to see if we could find it on Disney Plus, and we couldn't find it. Like, actually, the anime is like so hard to find on Disney Plus.
It was hard to find. Maybe they've changed it now, but when we were looking initially, it was hard to find.
And like, sometimes stuff is only on the like Japanese Disney Plus, and not on our Disney Plus, which is really annoying. But you know how that goes. Something VPN, something, you know. Sponsorships and but yeah, it's good. If the quality of the anime is as good as the first episode was, I would highly recommend watching it if you are the kind of person that kind of likes shonen battle, you know, stories. This one has a really interesting twist to it, and man, I can't get into it without like talking about a lot of the later chapters, but I feel like it's one of my favorite things that is like currently running in Shonen Jump, because there is like, it kind of captures the like heart of shonen to me in a way that is like very similar to, like, you know, when you're reading like One Piece, or like in the golden days of reading like Naruto or Bleach or whatever. I feel like it really captures the core of that, of being like, it has a lot of heart to it, and it cares a lot about its characters, which I think is charming. Yeah, I don't know. It's actually, when I think about it, it's hard for me to explain exactly why it's so good, but I promise it's good.
Okay. All right. So I guess if you're into an interesting shonen, you can check out Undead Unluck. It is very well animated, very dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Next.
Ragna Crimson. I did say I would watch this, and then I forgot to. I forgot to watch. Yep. That's all I got to say about it.
Okay.
All right. Kimi no koto daisuki na 100 nin no kanojo, or the 100 girlfriends who really, 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 really love you. This I have read the manga for because Paul recommended it, and if you read the premise of this anime, it sounds insane. But I promise you, it is like nowhere near as weird in the way that you're thinking it is, and much more weird in a different way. But it is about a boy who confesses to 100 girls and gets rejected 100 times in, I think, middle school or whatever. And then he goes to high school, and the god of love is like, "Oh fuck, I accidentally assigned you 100 soulmates." He's like, why? And he's like, well, let's not think about that. Anyway, if you don't get into a relationship with all 100 of these women, they're going to die, and you're going to die. Which is such a batshit premise. But the first episode is just about the first two girls, which is really... This is a surprisingly funny comedy series. And you get a very strong taste for it in the first episode, I would say. So you'll know one episode in if you will want to watch this or not. But like in the first episode, it's just these two girls that are like, "Oh, I love you, boy. I love you, boy," who I don't remember the name of. That's me not remembering his name, not the girls. They remember his name, right?
Rentaro.
Yeah. So they're like, "Oh, yeah, we love you," and they're like, "You have to choose one of us," and he's like, "I have too much love in my heart. I cannot choose just one of you. Could we possibly be in a polygamous relationship?" And they're like, "What the fuck?" And then like they're like, "But wait, if this is the only way, then so be it." And so that's it. They just get into a polygamous relationship, and the rest of the story is about the next 98 girls that join his polygamous relationship. This is like, okay, I will say this, this premise has every possibility to just kind of be schlocky. And it kind of is a little bit, like, to be honest, but like in a way that I think is not terrible. Like, it doesn't put me off.
No, it's not like derogatory in any way.
Right. It never feels like it is using it. It never feels like it's using the fact that like that there's like a real loving relationship between this boy and all of these girls that is like that's silly, or like, you know, it's like a little bit absurd, right, in the premise of it, and a little bit like, well, obviously like this is like the sort of driving force that's gonna drive the rest of the story, but at the same time it never feels like it is like actively judging that, right? It's never like kind of harsh about it, and it's never like it always comes back to the fact that like he just has enough love in his heart for like a lot of people, which I think is honestly like kind of charming.
I think what am I trying to say?
He's just a nice boy. He just has so much love in his heart to give.
I think what helps it is that it never takes itself too seriously.
Yeah.
Right? It knows how ridiculous it is, and so it's fully willing to make fun of itself, the show.
The thing is that it's like fully willing to make fun of itself, but it is never ever willing to compromise on the sort of like pillar fact of like he just loves so much, and he's just like kind of a nice dude. He's like, "I love these women!" And you know what? God bless.
All right, buddy.
But yeah, I mean, if you're the kind of person who gets really frustrated with love triangles, this show is the opposite of a love triangle. Like, a love triangle is kind of more like a love angle that just like ends in disappointment, and that's not happening here. Like, he's gonna date all 100 of those ladies, and he's gonna love all of them equally with his heart.
Everyone gets love.
Everyone gets love. It is, and I will say, having read the manga, it gets much funnier the like later you get, because of the absurdity of like 15 girls all trying to express their love for him at the same time, and he's just like drowning in love.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't have enough time in the day for 100 ladies all at once, right?
So I actually highly recommend watching this, even though we didn't end up watching more of the anime. It's like a good adaptation. The animation is good and bouncy and fun and expressive, and the base material is like surprisingly fun. You know, it's just fun. I have no problems with it. All right.
Okay.
Shangri-La Frontier which we are still watching. It's still airing, and we're currently at the climax of my favorite arc that I've read in the manga. And yeah, it's about a VR MMO and this boy who is a lover of really bad games. Like, he loves the shitty games. And
they're really bad and really challenging.
They're really bad and really hard because they're really buggy, or they're really annoying, or they have like bad controls, right?
He loves being able to conquer the game and be like, yeah, I finished it. I did it.
Yeah, and then beat it. And then he plays like a good game, and he's really good in the good game because of all the skills he developed playing the bad games. Which is, I think, a fun premise. And of all of the MMO like stories, right? Of all of the sort of MMO incorporating stories, I think, aside from some of the like romance oriented ones that are like more about like characters interacting like through the game as a sort of like, well, this is how we know each other, right? This is obviously like just about watching him play the game and watching him like experience the world of the game. And it's kind of this like fun story that is like not traditional fantasy, but it's also not isekai. Like, it's very explicitly not isekai. He's very explicitly playing the video game, and he takes the headset off when he's done playing the video game, right? And I think that has every possibility to not be terribly interesting, but I think that they do a good job of keeping that momentum rolling and of using his sort of driving force of like just really enjoying video games. I feel like watching this show is a lot like watching people who like make videos of like restaurants they like, right? Where it's like you just kind of enjoy the fact that they're enjoying themselves, and like you like the thing that they like, so you're kind of getting this secondhand enjoyment because you're like, I love watching people like the thing that I like.
Yes.
But yeah, I definitely want to touch on that as well in the winter episode, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. Shangri-La Frontier feels like a very, like, how do I put this? Craft-wise, it just feels like it was put together very smartly, because it's clear that they don't necessarily have the world's largest animation budget, but I think that they utilize like the resources they have incredibly well to make it seem very, very good all around. Like, the quality of it seems very good.
Yes, they definitely invest their budget and their animation in the most important parts, and so it still feels enjoyable to watch.
It feels very like well crafted, and it feels like it is. They hide the seams very well, I think is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Because there are definitely moments of like, you know, lower sort of priority animation, and a lot of the, you know, outside of the game shots are, you know, pretty sort of like straightforward, normal. But I think that kind of works for the show because like it's not about the outside of life stuff, it's about the inside the game stuff. I also really like that Shangri-La Frontier is like probably the MMO series that like actually kind of captures the joy of playing an MMO a lot.
I like that there's no like world-ending stakes or like
exactly
you die in the game, you die IRL or anything.
It's like watching somebody do like a challenge run let's play.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, here's me doing Elden Ring, but I can't wear any clothes.
Yes,
right?
I'm naked. I mean, the man is naked during most of the show.
Naked. It's true.
Because he got cursed by the monster, so he's just naked Birdman.
I think it's also really fun because of that choice that they made. They set it up in such a way that you are actively rooting for a character who has a handicap, right? Is the underdog in this situation, and also they give you kind of a story justification for him overcoming those odds, which I think all in all like works really well, and I think it's very compelling to watch. even when the stakes are like he's literally just like playing a video game, like when you're kind of in there and you're watching him and he's like, I'm gonna parry this guy, you're like, oh hell yeah, parry that guy. That would kill you if it hit you.
I mean, you kind of like, it's nice because you kind of imagine yourself if you were in that game, like what you would do in that situation. And sometimes they talk about like stuff that you would encounter in a game that would really suck. Like in the latest episode, one of the characters is getting de-leveled as he uses this item.
My levels!
Yeah, it's like, oh god, that sucks. Or there was another.
Like, oh yeah, this is a really strong item. What is? Yeah. What's the downside? You level down, and it's like, actually, you're right. That would suck. Like, actually, legitimately, in a real like. This could happen in an MMO sense. I can see this being an item, and it would suck, but I could definitely see why you would use it.
Yes, absolutely.
I could actually absolutely see this being an item in a game that is maybe a little bit harsher, because, like, it would give you an advantage in the moment, and then you would have an excuse to keep playing the game. It would just trap you. You'd have to level yourself back up.
I know! Oh, God.
Which would be so frustrating.
Yes. Yeah. So I think this show is definitely, it's for the gamers out there, you know?
It's for the gamers! I mean, unironically, actually, I think that more than any other anime I've ever watched, right? Any anime or manga that I've read or watched, it feels like Shangri-La Frontier kind of understands the appeal of playing video games, and especially of playing, like, hard video games. But, like, the fact that the main character really likes bad video games, I think is, honestly, in and of itself, kind of, like, more realistic in a sense of, like, there's a lot of people that like games that aren't very good, and, like, invest a lot of time into a game that, you know, not a lot of people play or appreciate, right? And you begin to like get to know everybody in the community. Like it captures that community aspect of playing online games really well, which I think is cool. And I can't think of another series off the top of my head that does it that well. Shangri-La Frontier understands the gamers.
Yes, it does. The heart of the gamer. Yeah. Up next we have Hametsu no Okoku, or The Kingdoms of Ruin.
So we watched an episode of this, and it was, like, fairly incomprehensible. And then later in the Discord, Claire put a synopsis of what it was about after watching it, and I read it, and I still don't understand the plot.
No, me neither. I don't know if it's a case of we would need to watch more, but, like, what we did see wasn't enough for us to be like, yeah, let's go in for a few more episodes. It was
like fine, I guess, but it was like a little edgy for my taste.
Yeah.
Like it was a little like they had some interesting ideas about like the like magic and witches and, you know, a technological empire and witch hunting. And I don't know, it just didn't cohere for me, really. It felt really disjointed.
Yeah, and the whole, like, beginning premise of it being, like, he's a boy with a lady, booba lady teacher.
Booba lady teacher.
And then she gets,
you get to see her boobas.
Yeah, she gets publicly humiliated and killed right in front of his eyes, and so then the rest of the story is about his revenge quest. It's just like, no, I'm good, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that was not my favorite.
No.
I gotta say, not my favorite. I mean, that's what I mean when I say it's like edgy. It's a little edgy for my taste.
It is edgy. I think if you wanted to watch a revenge story, maybe go watch Vinland Saga.
Yeah, go watch Vinland Saga. Yeah. Hell, go watch Rising of the Incel Hero if you really have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Watashi no Oshi wa Akuyaku Reiji. All of these names are in Japanese because they were still in Japanese when we were writing the thing. But this is I'm in Love with the Villainess, which we honestly kind of forgot to watch more of. but also like it's too much anime.
There was a lot of anime.
Mm-hmm. But it's a villainous isekai, but the main character, who is the isekai one, loves the villainess, and you know what? We love her for that. You go, girl.
We love her for that.
Let's go, lesbians.
Yeah, she just is in love with the villainess, and the villainess doesn't really know what to do with that, you know? And then they gradually, I imagine, get closer, and
yeah, I mean, I've read the manga for it. I haven't watched more of the anime, but there's a pretty charming character dynamic between the main character and the villainess, because, like, obviously she doesn't know what to do with all of these affections. But also at the same time, you're like, oh, she's very tsundere and doesn't know how to express that she actually does kind of like, she has a close relationship and like is endeared to the main character.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't want to show it, so she's like very soon about it, which feels very correct. And I feel like that's like the primary thing you're really watching for is just to watch this unflappable protagonist wooing this villainess who just like doesn't know how to handle it. It's very funny.
It is good. It's a very cute dynamic for sure. Yeah. We should have watched more.
Oh, we should have watched more. But honestly, I would suggest watching more, but man, I'm looking at the list for winter and I am afraid.
Quaking.
Please, God, help me.
Alright, so next, we have Hikikomori Kyuketsuki no Monmon.
The Vexations of a shut-in vampire princess or something like that, right?
Yes, you're correct.
I was really surprised at how entertaining this show was. We only watched, like, an episode of it, but it was, like, really pretty funny.
Yeah, I wonder if, like, the rest of the show is as funny, but, like, I would definitely recommend at least checking out the first episode, because based on the premise alone, it doesn't feel like as funny as it would be in the show.
It's very entertaining in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Actually feels really similar to me to a show that's airing this season that we just watched. I don't remember the name of it, but it's the one with the devil and the angel. And they're both a little stupid.
Yeah. So this one is about this hikikomori vampire princess. And she is being dragged out of her room to be like the leader of her empire, right? Like a big general person. And she kind of has to put on this front that she is there to inspire the troops and everything like that. But inwardly she's just like, please leave me alone. I just want to stay in my room. Please leave me alone.
I just want to sleep. You know what it reminds me of, actually? It reminds me of very specifically the sort of premise gag of Overlord, where he's like the supreme commander, and anytime he says anything, like everybody else who's more competent around him is like, oh, you're a genius, Lord Ainz. Surely you meant this 9,000 IQ play. And he's like, yes, that is what I meant. Definitely.
Yeah, so if you like that kind of gag, they do a lot of it in this, but it's very funny. It's very good.
Yeah, it's funny because she's also like panicking.
Yes, she's panicking. She doesn't know what she's doing, and her closest, staff know this, so they support her, but the rest of the people don't.
But they're like, oh my god, she's so good. Yeah, hell yeah, woo.
Yeah.
I might end up watching more of this, just because it seems like it's up my alley. I know I say that every time, but I hope to God that I actually mean it. Like, I'll fucking open it in a tab so that I do.
I mean, it has lesbian maid. That's so up your alley.
That's so true. What more could you want? Okay.
All right.
My daughter left the nest and returned, an S-rank adventure. I don't know why this one is suddenly in English, and only this one. This is about an S-rank adventure in like a kind of a adventure guild style world. I don't know if there's a standardized name for this sort of isekai like game fantasy. Maybe it's just game fantasy. But like it's about an S-rank adventure, but it's mostly about her dad, who was like a pretty strong adventurer, and then he lost a leg. So he retired. And yes. I've read some of the manga for this. It's pretty wholesome. It's just about this girl that loves her dad, and this dad who's just like, man, I miss adventuring, but I guess this is pretty good too. The funny thing about this is that we watched one episode and then didn't watch any more episodes, but in that one episode, the entire premise of that episode is that like she tries to go home to visit her dad, but then gets like sidetracked doing jobs that are assigned to her by the guild, so she never actually gets to see her dad.
We never get to see or meet her dad. The whole point of the show.
I think that the premise is like pretty well executed, and the anime is like fine, seems fine. So
yeah.
If it seems like it's up your alley, I would give it a watch. Okay.
Yeah.
Hokaku Shonen Hanako-kun. I have no idea where this was airing. I had no idea where this was airing, so we didn't watch it.
Apparently, it was on Crunchy, at least according to my anime list.
But they probably slipped it into the page for the main story, the main anime. As another season. That's probably why it was so hard to find.
Yeah, it's only 4 episodes apparently.
They're like short episodes, aren't they?
Yeah, like 10-minute episodes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's like a little bite-sized Hanako-kun. I feel like I get the idea.
Yeah.
I think you'll know if you're in the target audience for this. Okay, MF Ghost, motherfucking Ghost.
Yeah, let's go.
Every time I read it, I cannot help but read it as motherfucking Ghost. I have no idea what MF stands for here, and I don't care to know. It's motherfucking Ghost to me.
Yes.
Yep, this is it's by the guy who did Initial D, and it is very Initial D, and the guy from Initial D is in it.
Yes, it's just a sequel to Initial D. It honestly, it makes me want to go back to watch Initial D so that I can, then watch this right after it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the only thing about this is that, it kind of feels like, because, Initial D is kind of, it has this, progression to it, where, he's like, oh, whatever, to, oh, hell yeah, I love drifting. Right, but this one kind of starts with he's like the main character is already a racer, and he's already pretty well known, and he's from abroad, so I don't know. It just feels like the stakes are higher in a way that I am uncertain about. But I mean, hey, if you want to watch 3D cars, racing to Eurobeat, it's nothing about that has changed.
I've heard, because we only watched, the one episode, but I've heard that once the Eurobeat kicks in, you're in for the rest of the anime, right? It's just that's the selling point, essentially, is when that part of the story happens for MF Ghost. So I guess if you like Initial D, this is very it feels like nothing has changed except for the animation's updated. In terms of the storytelling. Yeah.
That is all it feels like. And the funny thing too is that it kind of reminds me of, because I'm pretty sure that I feel like some of the premise had to do with the fact that he drives basically a manual car in an age when a lot of cars are AI driven or something, which is kind of funny. It reminds me of the plot of Cars 3. No, that's all I had to say about that. I just think that's kind of funny. Okay, I just think that's funny.
All right.
Just
Cars 3.
The concept of Cars 3 is just kind of funny.
Cars 3.
He just loses to a better car.
MF Ghost, Cars 3.
MF Ghost. Yeah, I mean, you watch MF Ghost and it's like no time at all has passed, really.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of feels like you're just picking up right where you left off with Initial D, even though like 20 like plus years have passed or something.
I mean, honestly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Under Ninja, which had a really interesting concept and had a really good first episode. But again, we just didn't really have the time to watch it. You know what? Actually, this was I remember now. There was like normally we're pretty strapped for time to watch all of the shows that happen in a season, and we have to like pick and choose. I think this season was one when we just like couldn't make a lot of the anime nights happen, so we just had to like dump ballast basically.
Yes. Yeah, how do we describe this show?
It feels it's like a it's about ninjas in like modern day Japan. The concept being that they've always sort of been there.
Yeah.
It's not explicitly supernatural, but they have like, you know, they have like supernatural adjacent. They have like paranatural adjacent powers, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're able to do what like mythological ninjas can do, right? As opposed to like what you would imagine real ninjas probably were able to do. Because, you know, this guy's like shooting toothpicks into a ceiling or whatever, right?
Yeah, the storytelling like feels a little unhinged sometimes.
It is extremely unhinged in a way that is so intriguing to me, and I'm so sad we didn't watch more of this because it looks so weird.
It's very weird.
Like it has a very like seinen style to it.
Yeah.
It's like on the exact opposite end of the spectrum from like the Moe blob. It's like the like really realistic sort of like manga style.
Yes.
And they brought it to anime, I think, pretty well. They adapted it pretty well. And or actually, I don't know. Is this a manga? Or it might be an original anime.
See,
Look it up. My anime list. Oh, it's based on a manga. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has a more mature kind of like seinen style to it, and I don't know, it's about ninjas, and I guess there's something that the ninjas have to do, but we never got to the part where they find out what they actually have to do. We just kind of watched him, like, do ninja stuff for a bit, which was pretty cool. And it was pretty funny that other schools have ninjas, and the other school they faced off against were, like, posing as gals, as gyarus.
Gyarus.
I kind of want to watch more of this as well, just to know what the fuck is going on. Like, listen, I think that you'll get a pretty good idea of what this story is if you just understand the premise of ninjas never really went away and there was a ninja unit in World War II. What is like the setting material. And now they're in the modern world. That's what this is about.
Okay.
And yeah, it definitely feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. It feels crazy.
It is extremely unhinged, and
yes.
I'm interested. Maybe I'll read the manga or something.
Yeah. All right. Next we have Hoshikuzu Telepath.
Yeah, Hoshikuzu Telepath, which we watched an episode of because homosexual, gay, homosexual, gay. Yep, those girls are yuri as fuck.
They're in love.
They're in love.
They're gonna fall in love.
Yeah, this was alright. I mean, it's a cute, fluffy little show, you know, about two girls.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't have much more to say about this. One of them's an alien.
One of them's an alien. That's the main premise.
This is like, it's like an anime adaptation of my tabletop game.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Shy was something that aired that season, which was also pretty good. It was a pretty good adaptation of pretty good manga. We watched an episode because, again, we were strapped for time. But yeah, I know people that watched it, and I know people that enjoyed it. So I will give it the thumbs up if you're interested in a sort of interesting superhero / magical girl type of story.
Yeah, it's a nice different take on like superhero shows. It's about this female superhero who is, I mean, she's shy, that's her name, but also that's how she is disposition wise. She's not super confident in herself, and you get to kind of watch her overcome that slowly but surely.
Yeah. I think that the depictions of heroism in this series are very interesting. And its notions of heroism and, you know, what it means to help people is interesting. But again, I didn't watch much more of the anime, but it's good. Like, having read the manga, the story is good. I can at least vouch for that. Okay, Furikuri Shoegaze, which I forgot was coming out. I don't know where the fuck to watch this either. I mean, normally I'm like, I'll watch this, I'll watch that, I'll watch this. I completely blanked on this, and I didn't remember it was coming out. And honestly, like, all of these, like, extra Furikuris are coming out, and, like, they keep making them, and I just keep not watching them, even though I'm interested.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'll watch through all of them at once, and then I'll put together my thoughts about all of them at once.
Yeah. I'm not terribly interested in watching the extra ones, but I am kind of interested in hearing how they are.
Yeah. Okay, Bokuran no Ame Iro Protocol, or Protocol Rain, I think is the English title. I think this was a CG anime, wasn't it? All I remember about this anime is that they're playing a first person shooter, I think, kind of game, and and then the main character gets like gamer rage and like pushes his sister too hard, and she ends up in the hospital. And he's like, I could never play video games again. Which is like, all right, I get it, but also, man.
Yeah, it's the esports game.
Yeah, this is the esports one.
Esports anime, yeah. Okay.
I feel like if the esports mattered more, it would be interesting, but they don't, so it's not. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is like if you had a tennis anime, but then all of the tennis happens, and it's like they replaced all of the footage of tennis with like Wii Tennis. You're like, what am I watching? Why is this happening? Like, it's very clear they like either, you know, didn't have the production time or the budget, or they didn't fucking give a shit.
I mean, I've heard that they put a little more time into you spending more time in the game, like with the players or whatever. They immerse you a little more in the game in the later episodes. But at least the first episode that we watched, it was not good at all. It was like,
the game did not look good, man.
No,
and, like, there is a like there's a pretty large amount of disbelief that I'm willing to suspend when I watch a story. But man, when the game looks that bad, I can't even like, I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it. Like, this is my, I think this is what my, one thing is, because I, like video games, and I play a lot of video games, and I think about video games a lot, is, like, when a video game is, like, very clearly bad, I'm like, oh, it hurts me.
Yeah, it did not look interesting, even. Like, I would understand if they wanted to make it look, like, if they, like, stylistically decided, like, okay, I want to make it look, like, retro and 3D or whatever, like, early 2000s or 90s 3D.
But this is like take like stock Blender Unity assets, right?
Yes, they didn't even try, right? And if the anime is going to be about this game, then it's like you need to try with the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the game has to look at least presentable. Like, it has to at least have some game, right? Like, because at its core, this is a sports anime, and if the sports in your sports anime sucks, I'm sorry to tell you, you failed at making the sports anime.
Yeah.
You had one job.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it gets better as the series goes, but at least from the first episode, it didn't sell us.
No, not particularly.
Yeah, the series, yeah. Okay. Next we have Buta no Laiva wa Kanetsu Shiro.
This is that's actually Buta no Liver wa Kanetsu
Buta
Shiro.
no Liver, sorry. Buta no Liver. I see the words and I'm like, oh, that's liver.
Liver, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
liver,
yeah.
liver, yeah.
Like, that's the word liver. Like, for a normal person, they would probably read that as liver. But like,
yes,
we're perpetually brain poisoned by the internet, so
yes,
that's
VTubers
the word.
Yes,
that's the word liver, right? Yeah. God, I should have just spent my what have we been up to the entire time talking about Niji Sanji imploding.
Oh my god, it's fine. It's already all over the news.
Yeah, I know. Even people that don't watch VTubers are hearing about it, which is like, ooh, boy, we've reached containment, boys.
All right. Anyway, the the title translates to Butareba, the story of a man who turned into a pig.
Yep, he gets isekai'd into a pig.
Yes.
And this was weird. This is a weird show. Like, we knew it would be kind of a weird show getting into it, but then like the like isekai world he gets isekai to, I guess, has like indentured servitude, I guess, if we're being like polite, and slavery if you want to be a little bit like, harsh about it. And he's like, would you like to leave your indentured servitude and travel with me, a pig that you can communicate with? Which, really, just saying that out loud cements how strange of a concept it is.
Yes.
It was interesting. It felt very weird because the main, the female lead is like, because she is like an indentured servant, she doesn't have any like thoughts or feelings really about much of anything. So, she can read his mind, and he's constantly thinking about like, gross stuff like, I wanna
what?
He's like, I wanna look at your butt.
Was that the sound
like,
for that?
I don't know. Maybe I can't explain it either. But yeah, and then he's like, I want to see your butt, and she's like, why would anybody want to see my butt? It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you're so pretty. It's so weird. It's a weird dynamic. I'm not sure how much of a fan of it I am.
I don't know either. I think the development arc is supposed to be that she becomes more and more like
human,
she
kind of gets a little bit more of her own thing going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just weird to have like a pig low-key sexually harass this girl who's fine with it.
He at the very least, he doesn't push it far. He's just like, I have these thoughts, but
right. He at least has the decency to be like, I have these thoughts, but like, do not listen to them.
Right, exactly.
Like, they're just thoughts that I'm having. I promise. You don't actually have to do them.
Yeah, don't actually like show me your butt.
Right. I don't know. I feel like if you're in the target audience for this, you know it. If you're the kind of person,
target audience?
Well, you know who the target audience is. You know who the target audience is, Renu.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to think about it. Actually,
it's all the butas out in the world.
All the piggies.
The piggies. You know it is. You know it is. Okay, 16-bit sensation, another layer, which is about a girl that works at a shitty game company, getting traveling back in time to the 90s to 2000s, early 90s, late 2000s, or no, late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, that. I think it's like 96, 97 or something. And then she works at a game company in the 90s, doing visual novels. This feels like an anime that was funded by a game preservation society. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, interesting.
Because it is so like involved and particular about the specifics of making games in that time period, like the large, like, you know, bulbous monitors, the like floppy, you know, the floppy disk sort of readers, the code, like, you know, not fitting onto the disk, not compiling properly. Like, this is nerd shit, right? Like, this is like beyond normal nerd shit to like actually like kind of really nerdy stuff.
Yeah, it feels like it was made by someone who is like super into that era.
Yeah,
gaming.
which to be fair is like, I wouldn't say that's particularly unusual. Is to like games from that genre. A lot of people who grew up with those games are obviously now making games in anime. So we're talking about like visual novels, like generally, and we're talking about like the sort of foundational visual novels of the genre, right? We're talking about your canons and your dokuseis.
Yeah.
Like, you know, all your key stuff. And if you're interested in that, I think that this would be a highly recommended pickup. Because I think that the anime cares a lot about that, at least from the first episode that we watched. I don't know, the rest of it could just be absolute nothing, could just be slice of life. And honestly, that might be okay. Like, that might be probably what you needed, actually. Like, honestly, game development is kind of boring. Like, you just sit there and you write code, and your writers are writing lines, and your executives are telling you that you need to put a battle pass in. And you're like, we can't put a battle pass in, it's a visual novel. And it's like, you gotta find some way to put it in there.
Gotta make money.
Gotta make some monies. Oh, fuck, I don't know, man.
I just want to make my creative thing.
This is like when Ace Attorney, having the like 3DS games, they have like DLC for them, and they have very few case DLCs. I think they have like one free one or something. But most of the DLC is just costumes, which is really funny for a single player story game where, like, I guess you spend a lot of time looking at Phoenix in the courtroom, but like, I don't know. That's just very funny to me. I wonder how many people bought that.
I hope everyone bought it just to dress up Phoenix.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And the last thing that we watched was Bullbuster, which I think is actually the only series that we watched that finished that season. Everything else is rolling over.
Yes, it's the only one that we watched to completion. Yeah, it was actually all right. It wasn't too bad.
This is what I would say is, this to me felt like a solidly good anime. Like, it wasn't the best anime I've ever watched. It wasn't the worst anime I've ever watched. It was just good. Like, it was entertaining to watch. It felt like it was about something at all, which was nice. You know, like, a lot of times you watch an anime and you're like, what the fuck was this even about?
Yeah, like the really mediocre or forgettable ones. It's just like you just exist to exist. Like, what's happening here? This one does feel like they were striving for a message and themes, and they went for them, and I think they accomplished them all right.
Yeah, it was a solidly good piece of work. You get to watch some mechs do some stuff. You get to watch some underdogs bust a corporation, which is nice. A lot of it had to do with just kind of the day-to-day of like running this mundane business that isn't like the business itself isn't mundane, but the actual business part of it is mundane because it's a business. So they're like, oh god, we need to like rebrand our logo, and like, oh no, like corporate wants this to happen, but we don't really want that, and we want this to happen, right? So
it's definitely got the like deep into small business vibes, right?
Yeah, it is like
startup.
It is definitely as much about that as it is about all of the other stuff that's happening, like the monsters coming out of the ground and the mechs that are fighting them.
Right.
For the most part, it's like you're functionally watching an anime about a small business, like a pest removal small business, except the pests are giant and the things that they use to remove them are giant robots.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I love that. I fucking love that.
Yeah,
That's A-okay for me.
It was fun. It was fun to watch. There was messages about environmentalism and also like what large corporations do in terms of like disregarding the small folk, in terms of not actually caring about what they're doing to people's homes and all that. People who live in the area. So there's like a little bit of the anti-capitalism message in there. Also,
I really liked that. It just kind of felt like they had no. It had no like extraneous material. Like everything was just kind of about the stuff that was happening in the show, which was nice.
Yeah, yeah, it was nice.
Because like sometimes you watch a show like this, and like at the end of the show, suddenly like two characters are hooking up because they're like, we need a romance, right? And I was kind of afraid they would do that, but they absolutely just like jumped right over it and just like, nope, avoid.
No,
which I thought was nice.
They did. They addressed the fact that the main character was like kind of attracted to one of the lady characters and something like that, but they don't ever focus on it because they kept in mind like that's not what the show is about. The show is about this company trying to fight the big man. Yeah, I liked it.
It was decently entertaining to me, and I thought it was fun because it was about something different.
Yeah, same.
it feels like the kind of thing that would be hard to capture outside of an anime.
Yeah, it's also, I feel like it might have been hard for this kind of show to like get approved by like bigger like animation studios and stuff like that. It's a big project because it's such a different story than what you would expect in the mainstream type of anime shows. So I like that it exists. I like that we watched it. It was a fun watch.
It's in a very similar vein to other like shows that are about more non-traditional action stuff, right? Like this is about running a business. Fune wo Ame is like or whatever is about like writing a dictionary, which is cool. There's plenty of anime about like being a musician and all of the surrounding stuff. Like I really like that there are stories that are kind of like this, where even if they're not like 10 out of 10, amazing, excellent, it's like there is like clearly space for these kinds of stories to be told and prove to be entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's all we watched.
Yay!
Yeah.
Pretty tidy, I think. I think we did it.
Pretty tidy, considering how many things we had to go over. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet?
Ayo. I am Renu, also known as Swan. You can find me on Instagram at swan.drawn. You can find me Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Tumblr, everywhere else, at swandrawn. I, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I've been working very steadily through Commission Q, I've got one convention in Honolulu next month. Just up to my usual art stoof. If you like the sound of that, come swing on by on my social medias or my Twitch channel. I'd love to have you. Yeah, what about you?
You can find me all the places at Literal Soup. If I'm on a place, it's there. And I don't know. As far as the internet is concerned, I at this point appear to be a full-time podcaster. Which, well, if you stretch the definition of full-time, sure.
I mean, you also play FF14 still, right? Or don't you?
Yeah, I still play. Although we are in the content drought, as it's called, between the last major patch and the expansion, which is coming out in the summertime. So there's less sort of new content coming out, which is honestly fine for me because I started Final Fantasy XIV a lot more recently than a lot of the people that have been playing for 10 years, right? So there's a lot of stuff for me to catch up on, and content drought, great time to do that. Okay. Let's see. Right, our opening is by Ska2 Network, and our ending is by Takumakata, and the patrons we're thanking today are Evan Williams, Claire, Cherubel, Magpie Nerdfest, Sean Dow, and Dylan Boats. Thank you so much for your support, as always.
Thank you.
Thank you, so cute.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alright, we will see you next time.
See you next time.
また明日ね。